Okay, here we are again. It's Wednesday night, November 16th. Welcome to RedPIll Fitness. I am your host, Josh, president of the patriarchal liftocracy, chief executive bro scientist of Beholden to Truth. So glad to be joining you tonight. It's honestly a much needed therapy session for me because my day was unnecessarily stressful and a little costly, frankly. I had to drop about 500 bones today on random expenses, and I'm going to tell you all about it because it was all for a good reason, and it's actually a day of celebration. We are exactly 1 month from my departure from the Pacific Northwest, the Portland greater area, Sodom and Gomorrah, as many of us think of it. And we'll be heading back down to the completely sane and rational South, where they still completely embrace things such as womanhood or manhood, femininity and masculinity. People, believe it or not, it's hard to believe, but some people actually really like those ideas and believe that they're distinctly different and that there is there's not even you can't even entertain the belief that you can put them both in a blender and somehow pull out a transgender person. No. I'm going back to somewhere that's just a little bit more normal. And so listen, one of the things that happened to me today was I was out just walking my dog, minding my own business. And granted, guys, I live in the suburbs. I don't live like in inner city Portland, intentionally so for obvious reasons. But I live in the suburbs outside of Portland. Cute little neighborhoods with HOAs and neighborhood watch and all, the stuff that you would expect of the cozy suburbs. Well, the problem has gotten so bad in Portland that it has overspilled into the surrounding areas who don't actually appreciate the whole city life, where you're just kind of expected to go with people, defecating in front of your favorite restaurant or stabbing somebody when you're just trying to go to Marshall's. Or in my case, when I'm trying to walk my dog today, not even 200 yards from my front door, out here in the suburbs, this isn't like some seedy neighborhood. Just a random homeless dude in a sleeping bag, doing his thing, just sleeping on the ground. And I'm a terrible person because I have a problem with this. I really do have a problem with the way our society is being run in that it's resulting in this outcome. It's not a problem with the homeless man himself. I have a problem with the law enforcement not doing their job. And you can't even point to the law enforcement not doing their job because you keep digging further and you find out, well, that's because the law enforcement got laid off because some people thought it was brilliant to defund the police. And the same people thought it was brilliant to decriminalize all drugs. Do we see like any kind of correlation between all of these things? Maybe when you decriminalize all drugs, you have rampant addiction all over the city. And when you have rampant addiction, people tend to neglect the other pillars of life, such as their health, their financial health, their professional health. They become homeless. And when you're homeless, you resort to doing whatever you have to do to stay alive, which increases crime. Like, I feel like as if I'm talking to kindergartners who would go, yeah, all that makes sense, Josh. Thanks for laying it out so clearly and, making it relatable to everyday experiences. But see, you could color this in crayon. You can speak as plainly and understandably as possible. And still, the liberal argument will be, you just need to show some compassion, Josh. Really, not everybody has it as good as you, Josh, okay? Tragedy happens. Addiction is a mental illness. Don't you care about veterans? And here it is. This is the moral blackmail. This is I haven't actually been able to defend what you just said, but what I can do is make you feel like a bad person. I can do that, and that'll make me feel like a good person, but I'm not going to be able to actually deconstruct your argument. You just need to be a more compassionate person. You need to lower your standard and quality of life. You need to say, it's okay if there's a homeless man 200 yards from my front door who might stumble in my home in some kind of chemically induced violent stupor, or he might break in and try to steal something to fuel his habit or to buy groceries. Either way, I don't want him breaking into my home. That's not being an asshole. That's not being cruel. Doesn't mean I hate homeless people. Go fuck yourself if all you have to see in all of this is this ability to guilt trip me for wanting to feel safe. So I see this homeless guy while I'm out walking my dog. That's the first trigger. I'm like, this is how bad it is. It's not just a Portland city thing. It's not just a downtown thing. It's so bad that it's all of Portland now overspilled into the suburb communities of Portland. The people who have intentionally paid a premium by sacrificing their time and resources to get that extra money to not have to deal with all this. Well, now it's still everybody's problem because people in the city insist on degrading their quality of life to the absolute minimum standard. And in doing so, expose everybody else to volatile risk. It's extremely self-absorbed. They want to tell you you're self-absorbed for not wanting to be around criminals. It's the most gaslighting, preposterous. It's just preposterous. Anyway, that wasn't even all that happened. In the 20 minutes that I spent to walk my dog around my own neighborhood, this is the place where I'm supposed to feel safe. This is the place I have paid extra money to not have to deal with the city for. I'm almost home, and these two pink-haired demons, guy and a girl, but they both have pink hair. That's our men nowadays, by the way. Our men have pink hair. In case I know you didn't really miss it. I'm sure you've seen it, but maybe you didn't just stop and think about that. That our men have pink hair. And so his also pink-haired girlfriend, they're conversing. I'm walking my dog, minding my own business. We're going opposite directions. So as they pass me, when I finally tune into the conversation they're having, the very first thing I hear sounds totally like Christianity. So what did Josh do in that scenario? What would you guys do in that scenario? I'll pause for a second to let you think about that. What would I do? Now that we have paused for you to think about that, what I did, I didn't even hesitate. It was like a knee-jerk. It came out of my mouth before I thought about it. I turned my shoulder with my dog on my leash. I said, "What about Christianity?" Excuse me, can you elaborate on what you're talking about? And as you can probably guess, they kept walking and they said, "Oh, nothing. They didn't want to go there. They didn't know that people actually stand up for their beliefs these days. Not many of us, but even it's just in a happenstance stranger encounter, if you hear somebody shitting on your beliefs, especially when you know that they're actively under attack, it's not so much that you might expect to change their mind by you speaking up and you saying something to defend whatever your belief is. It's that if you don't say anything, then what they just interpreted was I can go out in society and talk shit about Christianity and it doesn't bother anybody. It's not a big deal. And if you're some weak Christian who overhears something like that, and you just say, I don't want to create a scene. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just out here walking my dog. It is what it is. I don't want to have a theological debate right now, so I'm just going to keep walking. Okay. Have fun in the gulag. Have fun saying, I wish I could read my Bible right now. It's too bad it got taken from me when they sent me to that re-education camp. Because Christianity is illegal, because it's seen as a threat to either the institution, the system, or someone else's religion. That's the thing about Christianity. While we thoroughly promote it and want everybody to be close to God, we don't throw you in jail if you decide not to participate. But where America is going right now is that the threats to, it's already happening. We just saw these pro-life activists going and peacefully praying at abortion clinics. No Molotov cocktails, no weapons, no angry microphones, holding hands and praying, getting arrested for disturbing the peace or obstruction of business or something like that, getting arrested. The FBI coming to the house of those activists, full-on SWAT style, AR-15s, weapons of war, by the way, bulletproof vests, no announced. They don't call them ahead of time. They actually show up SWAT style to take the people who peacefully protested abortion by praying. The FBI shows up at your home and takes you to jail. Meanwhile, 0 arrests made during the BLM riots, where protesting racial justice is manifested by burning down buildings, destroying downtown, lighting dumpsters on fire. No arrests there. No FBI SWAT teams there. Even worse, you get GoFundMe campaigns to bail the people out of jail who actually committed violent crime. And it's sad to say that the violent crime happened in the first place. And this is all tied to the narrative of my life's narrative that you're just sitting here listening to, of why I had to get out of Portland, get out of the West Coast. This is their standard of living. This is what they actually think is best for us. It's very symbolic. I can't go out and just walk my dog in my own private suburban neighborhood without my religion being mocked and having a criminal right in front of my home, right in front of my front door. And people want to tell me it's not that bad, like I'm exaggerating. This is one day of my life. These things happen all the time. I'm sitting there posting videos to my Instagram stories of the drugged up homeless guy outside of Kohl's a couple weeks ago, which was, I couldn't even plan the event. I just roll up and, oh, wow, okay, there's a guy pulling stuff out of the trash can and disturbing people as they walk into Kohl's. That's great. I'm just here to do an Amazon return. So I do my Amazon return. I go back out to my car. The guy's still out there. And people are like scarily trying to run through the front door so as to not get screeched at by this thing. Or assaulted, or worse. Somebody finally calls the cops inside the Kohl's. That's why I continued to hang out, because I wanted to watch this scene, and if nobody else called the cops, I was going to. So I'm sitting in my car, and sure enough, the cops do pull up. And I was actually had already dialed the local non-emergency number and was waiting on a response when the cops showed up. So I hung up and I started recording what was going on. And gosh, it was like 3, 4 police cars show up. Takes 20 minutes of them talking to him and him acting like a maniac. I assume because 4 police cars show up that they're actually going to do something about this situation. You know, maybe arrest the guy, take him somewhere else. No. They tell him to shoo, go on. So he walks around the corner of the building and, out of sight, and then they all pull off within 5 minutes. Good job, guys. Way to defeat crime. Bet he's not going to do that again in an hour. That was at Kohl's. At Safeway, I'm in there going to buy some frozen pizza, and I see this guy. He's got a hood up. He's got a big-ass winter coat on, and he's just pushing his cart, and he's, like, locked in. Like, awkwardly so. Like, something's going on with this dude. Like, it set off my spider senses immediately. So I'm watching him. Not a lot to this story. Guy just walks out with his entire cart full of food. And so the Safeway employee runs after him. Nobody stops him, obviously, which I know in the retail environment, they're kind of coached not to because they're afraid of being sued. Which, think about that, for example. Why are you getting sued for trying to stop somebody from robbing your store? Ever think about that being backwards? So, whatever Safeway employee pursues the guy, comes back with the food cart, all the food, doesn't let him steal it. And I ask him, wow, dude, that's crazy. I've never seen that before. What is the employee's response? Happens several times a week. People assume that that's cool to just like walk in, take an entire cart of food, walk out, whatever. And you know why they think it's at least worth the shot, see if you can get away with it? Because I asked the employee, so do you guys call the police and get that guy arrested for trying to steal, shoplifting? The guy says, no, police won't come if it's under $500. Okay. So there's no penalty whatsoever. There's no discouragement whatsoever if you try to shoplift anything you want up to $500. There's no accountability. The same way there's no accountability when you decriminalized all drugs. Are these people actually brain damaged? How else do you describe it? The propaganda has given these people a lobotomy to where somehow they still believe these views are defensible and that they create a safe and happy society. And look, like, I don't sit here and write a script. I don't write like a whole bunch of bullets down like, oh, talk about that Kohl's thing and talk about the thing that happened to you at Safeway also. And then the thing at the Max stop. And then the thing at Home Goods. Like, I can just rattle off crimes that I have either had happen to me directly, my dog getting attacked by a fucking drug dealer's attack dog at the park on a first date. Called the police. What do you think happened? They wouldn't come. Why didn't the police come? Because they were actively responding to riots. I'm speechless. I mean, like, there's an actual level of psychological brainwashing and programming that is intentional, that actually creates blinders to not see all of this. These progressives and these liberals, they're like, that's all just kind of supposed to happen to you. It's just part of the whole pleasure of living near a major city. It's one of the many gifts of it. It's culture. So, the reason today is a celebratory day, you wouldn't think so with me ranting now for 20 straight minutes about how much I hate this place. Um, it's a celebratory day because we are now exactly 30 days out, a single month away from hitting the eject button, getting in the car with my dog, and driving across the country to start life 3.0 for Josh. Portland was life 2.0. Up until then, I was in Alabama. That was life 1.0. We are now doing life 3.0, and I'm excited to take you guys with me. It's going to be an entire new chapter of my life. Getting back to my roots, and I'll actually be able to appreciate them this time because when I was there before, I wasn't even Christian for the majority of that time. I mean, I was just reconnected with God 3 years ago. And so back, all of my adult Alabama life, I was estranged from God. So to be there and actually appreciate the fact that there's a church every street corner, people actually want that in their community. People love that about their community. They don't make fun of the fact of how many churches they are. They see it as a beautiful thing. That's the person I'm coming to Alabama to versus it used to be the opposite. I used to kind of eye roll like, yeah, there's a lot of churches, man. It's pretty crazy. Now I'm like, you're damn right. There's a lot of churches. There's a lot of churches for a reason. Those are outposts to keep us safe in the spiritual war that these people are. I mean, they're trying hard and they're the closest they have ever been. They have more control than they have ever had. And they've made us compromise more than we ever have. Our individual liberties, our human rights. You saw this playing out during the COVID disaster. The intentional COVID disaster. So, that was my day just walking my dog. On the subject of having a big move coming up, though, one of the things on my agenda today was getting an oil change, getting the tires looked at. Very happy and relieved to say all that's good to go. So, our caravan is prepared. That was an annoying errand that I've been putting off for a while. So I'm glad to have that done. I didn't plan on spending 20 minutes on the Portland thing, so let me just take a beverage here. Ooh, that is cherry lemonade. Absolutely delicious. 0 calories, of course. Okay, and it was an expensive day. Is another thing I wanted to complain about. Anytime I have to give away my hard-earned, highly taxed dollars, it annoys me. And so, yeah, you get in the car, checked out, the oil change. That was like $120. And so then I had to go to the doctor. I had a dermatologist appointment. And there's several things to go into here. I have alopecia areata, okay? And that's an autoimmune condition where you'll get like bald patches, like the size of up to a quarter or so, honestly, on different parts of your scalp. And they are transient. You get them, and they last like anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And then maybe you'll get one on the other side of your head or on the back of your head. And I've been dealing with these things for 3 or 4 years now. Pretty frustrating, but I talked the other day about any kind of worry that you have, it can't be devoted towards things that you have no control over. And they don't know what causes alopecia areata. They don't know about autoimmune diseases. When the body turns inward and decides to attack itself, it can be caused by a lot of different things. They speculate that it could just be as broad as psychological stress and physiological stress. So it's like, what are you supposed to do with that? Not have a full-time job? Not try to make changes in your life so that you never get stressed? Don't move because that's too much stress. Don't set goals because striving towards those goals is very stressful. So I can't do anything if it's stress related, okay? Maybe complain to you guys for an hour or two a night like you're my therapist, Maybe that'll help with my stress levels, and we'll actually see some improvement with the alopecia stuff. That would be cool. Until that happens, though, I am hoping it's kind of a Hail Mary. I'm not really expecting. I'm just kind of hoping somewhat that the change of environment from this place where I feel constantly under attack, quite literally, spiritually, mentally, to my homeland and to God-loving people being all around me, I'm hoping that will help with the alopecia annoyance. But listen, in the meantime, you go to the dermatologist in the 3 to 6 months that it's lasting, and you have to get shots in the head where they inject steroids to try to reduce the inflammation and, speed up the recovery process. So I got like 6 shots in my head, like bing, 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 bing. And so putting a needle into something that is already inflamed and red doesn't feel good, guys. So, and then you get the pleasure of spending $160 for those shots. So I had to pay like $120 for the car, and then immediately another $160 for the dermatologist. Then I go to Walmart because I got to get my prescription from the dermatologist. Some doxycycline. Take it twice a day. She's like, take one with breakfast and one with dinner. And I was like, okay, I don't eat breakfast. She's like, okay, we'll take it with lunch. I don't eat lunch. Oh, man. I was like, yeah, I do intermittent fasting. I have a couple hours to eat before I go to bed. She's like, okay, well, take one then. And I guess just like make sure you drink a bunch of water and maybe have like a cracker in the morning. It's like, okay, whatever. Thanks, Josh, 419. Amazing name, my brother, because guess what? My name is also Josh. So we now have twice as many Joshes in the house tonight. Another reason to celebrate. I appreciate the compliment, though. So what else? I go to Walmart, get the prescription. It's like $20 more. And I'm on the way out, and because I'm a very frugal guy, I always swing by the clearance rack. And guess what's down there? Like, this is exactly why I have that practice, because you never know what day you check it. There might just be some awesome deal. Well, lo and behold, there are 7 boxes of Quest bars for $10 each. So, I gotta buy all those. So I spent $70 unplanned, and then $20 on the prescription. So now we've thrown like another $100 down today. So by the time I got home, like noon, I was out $500. So costly day, but all in all, when you buy sale items like that and you stock up on bulk, truly you're saving money in the long term. What are you going to do on the car stuff? Like, I knew I was going to have to get the car checked out, make sure I don't need new tires, which it sounds like I don't, before this 3,000-mile move. You can't drive across the country on a car that you're sitting there wondering, is this thing going to break down on me? Are my tires going to explode? So we got the green light on that. And, hopefully all that planning is going to pay off and the move will be nice and smooth. Okay, look, what else we want to talk about tonight? I spent the whole first hour just telling you how my day went. But a lot of that really is relevant to the culture that we're living in. The reasons I complain about Portland really is just the startling indicator of everything we talk about on this show, of the leftism and the progressivism destroying this country. Not even slowly anymore. It used to be slowly but surely. Now it's aggressively. So I heard a news headline to shift into the news. I guess we can probably pull this up on Google real quick just to have something in front of you. Midterm young voters. You may have heard in the last week, at the conclusion of midterms, they looked at the exit surveys and they found that the young people really, really did have an influence on the midterm elections this go around. They really got out the vote. So I could talk a lot about this, whether or not we should even let young people vote. Oh my God, that's so controversial. What do you mean? Listen, you're talking about handing over significant influence. Every vote matters. Every vote matters. So you can't come to me and say it's just one vote. It's not that significant. People who say that democracy relies on every individual vote. So yes, it is significant power. Your sovereign right as a citizen to influence our government is a tremendous right. And we hand it over to people at 18 years old. And we don't really talk about that. You know, everybody is kind of just assumed like, yeah, okay, you're an adult at 18. I guess that means you can help us choose who runs our country. And then the other reason they say is, well, if you're going to be drafted to war, then you deserve a chance to vote on whether or not we go to war. Well, every single minute of your life up until the point that you are drafted, you're enjoying all of the perks, all of the benefits of the American government, of our country. So it's not like we haven't already paid you before you end up, somewhat of a lotto style rare event, potentially having to actually pay for what you have enjoyed every moment of your life up until then. You've enjoyed the spoils of America up until the point that you got drafted. You're fine. You don't also need the right to vote. Just saying. Because this is what happens. You end up with John Fetterman being elected over anything that can actually speak or compose 3 sentences that make sense or respond to basic questions about inflation. And you have Katie Hobbs winning in Arizona, who refused to debate her opponent on TV, period, who did 0 debates. What's up, Harley? Good to see you in here. You may be a first-time chatter, but I know you. So I was sitting here talking about the potential of no longer allowing young people to vote. I don't know if you caught that. Because as we now know, they swung this midterm election. They do stupid things like vote for John Fetterman. And they've always used the argument of, we have to let 18-year-olds vote because it's possible that they may get drafted. Okay. I'm not buying that. They've already received enough care from America before they get drafted. And it's just too risky, I think, to let these people who are 18 to 21 or so who know nothing about how businesses work, they can't know anything about the complexities of the different industries working together, concepts of collusion and corruption. They haven't even had time to understand human history in terms of where America came from, the reason America was created. We're talking about the right to vote in America, right? So it's very important that they understand these things and can fit them contextually into history. And the fact that our young people now aren't even taught an accurate version of history. It's like you need to get out of, I was going to say public school, but the problem is it's a nonstop propaganda machine up until the point that they're 22. And so if you let anybody below 22 vote, before they get out of college, they're still in the propaganda machine. They're still watching MTV. Why is somebody who watches MTV allowed to choose which president we get? They're still thinking about things that happened to them at their high school prom. Still worried about Susie or whatever cheerleader and all this other stuff. Like, these are children. So just saying, we may need to revisit the idea of young people voting and maybe redefine young people voting. Just kind of stepping back and thinking about it, like how stupid everybody is below 21. And of course, anybody below 21 will tell you that they are the exception. that they don't need life experience. They don't actually need to assemble a body of evidence and events to learn from. They don't need to do that in order to be knowledgeable. All they need to do is attend public school for 14 of their 18 years, and yeah, they're totally knowledgeable about what the different political parties represent, what their goals are, who's controlling both political parties. I mean, I can tell you that there's 6 different layers below where they need to be in order to cast a productive vote. Because if you're still thinking in terms of, okay, which Democrat or which Republican should I vote for? And should I choose like one of those sides? And do I have to vote for whoever's at the top of that side if I am one of those? If that's how your whole political worldview is still operating, you don't have an informed vote. You shouldn't vote. Shouldn't get to vote. There should be like an entrance question to the ability to vote that says, who controls the government? Because right now, the people are going to say, based on my education, I was told we have a democracy, which means the people control the government. Assuming they actually got that out of their crooked propaganda education, hopefully they understood the democracy they were being sold enough to the point to be able to pass that test. But the sad thing is providing that answer is wrong. That's the problem. Democracy does not run our country right now. The government does not represent the will of the people right now. And this is all related to the election fraud and the election interference. When the election system is busted, nothing works. It doesn't matter anymore. You can't even call it a democracy. So, there's an extra part to the young voters that I want to emphasize because, look, this is a perfect example of how easily young people can be manipulated because they're gullible. Young people's vote can be easily bought. And here's the example. What announcement did Joe Biden make 2 months before the midterms? We're going to forgive $10,000 of your student debt. And if you had a Pell Grant, we're going to forgive $20,000 of your student debt. It's official because I'm the president and it's now a law and it's going to happen. Congratulations, students. The reason you voted for me paid off because I promised you I was going to do this. Not only was it stupid, an awful financially destructive idea and theft to do in the first place. I'm not even going to talk about that tonight because that's a tragedy in and of itself that this legislation even got passed temporarily. But it did get passed, and so all the young little gullible voters said, oh my God, Grandpapa Biden, he's giving me $10,000. Of course I'm going to go vote for the Democrats. And so they did. And so the midterms basically went to the Democrats. And then guess what happens 1 week after the midterms? Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness struck down for being unconstitutional. Shocking that happened. I mean, I'm actually not being sarcastic that time. It is genuinely shocking that they reversed something for being unconstitutional. That they admitted that, yeah, that was actually not founded in law and it is totally anti-American. So no, we're not going to do that. I'm glad we came to that realization, but do you think it's any coincidence that we came to that realization? Oh my God, this is unconstitutional. I can't believe it. Do you think we didn't know that before the midterms? Do you think maybe if we would have put that fact out there and finally agreed on the fact that student loan forgiveness was unconstitutional and should not happen, that maybe all those young voters who were just clamoring to go vote for Grandpapa $10,000 Joe Biden, maybe that would have influenced just how eager they were to vote for him again. Just saying, if you find out somebody says, I'm going to give you $10,000, and then later on says, never mind, can't do that. My bad. It was actually a stupid idea. But you believed it. You believed it and you voted based on it. That's young people. Do you understand now? Do you understand that this was all puppetry? That it was all theater? Do you think the Biden administration didn't know it was unconstitutional, yet proposed it anyway? This stuff is orchestrated. The world is the stage that you're all just supposed to watch and believe and be entertained by. And wow, these people are so smart with these decisions they make. So that's how the midterm got stolen, quite literally stolen, based on fraudulent, unconstitutional legislation of the Joe Biden administration. How's the hair here? It's getting long, man. I really need to cut it. It's getting unruly kind of long. It's like always difficult to find where to part it. Like, what do you do, you know? So that's the midterms. That's the election theft. We talked last night about the theft in Arizona, which is just so egregious. This is how stupid they think you are. Do I have to do this all again? Long story short, according to the ballots, the counted ballots in Arizona, more voting citizens who went to the polls to vote for the leaders of their state care more about the treasurer of the state than the governor of the state. How does that work? Are all of us just sitting here dying to go vote for the treasurer? If you want to know more about that, listen to last night's episode, or maybe it was yesterday morning's. I don't know. It was sometime yesterday. And now my camera's out of focus. What happened? Look at this. Just a day of difficulties for me. Okay, last subject before we get into fitness questions. I was listening to Nick Fuentes, America First, and he was talking about the Jew situation, the non-coincidental Kanye, Kyrie, Elon, and now guess who gets to join them? Chappelle, all being blackballed by the Anti-Defamation League and being, crucified, to use the best word, in the public sphere, all because they said that the Jews run the media, which is like, come on. Everybody knows that. Like, that's kind of the reason it's funny when people make a joke about it, is because we all know that it's true. So anyways, Chappelle does his 15-minute monologue on Saturday Night Live, which you guys, if you haven't seen it, you totally should watch it. It was really, really well done. It was balanced between, this is killing me that this thing isn't focusing right. What's going on here, camera? Anything? Totally disrupted my train of thought. I was sitting here talking about Chappelle. Go watch the special if you haven't seen it, or the episode. It's 15 minutes where he just says everything that you already know, that there's a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood, that you're not supposed to talk about it, that's basically it. That's all he said. And so, obviously, the very next day, you have these articles coming out talking about the dangerous language that Chappelle used to perpetuate anti-Semitic tropes. And so that's predictable. You kind of knew that was going to happen. But what Nick Fuentes was talking about was it's going to come down to the black people actually bearing the weight of being the first people to say, we're not going to stand for this anymore. Like, you've had your hands in our pie, especially, way too much. So there's a now growing movement of blacks versus Jews is what I think we're going to see in the near term. I think we're going to see more celebrities, coming and supporting Kanye, Kyrie, Chappelle, And while that's happening, you have Elon Musk preserving the platform to do so. You got to understand that's another big connection to this. Because previously, if it was still Twitter owning itself, before Elon bought it, with all those moderation Nazis running it, any of these people who are speaking up now would just get deplatformed. They wouldn't have a voice. I mean, you saw that with Kanye. He immediately got banned from Twitter and banned from Instagram. But when Twitter became under new ownership, it became clear that that was going to be the only current platform for free speech, and that puts the other social media platforms in this awkward position where if they know Elon is not going to pull down posts that are just exposing facts that are true, such as the disproportionate representation of Jewish ownership of the banking industry, or in Hollywood, or in higher education, or roles in the government, pick whatever example you want. If Elon allows people to talk about that, they don't know how to respond. The other social media companies, they're like, okay, well, if that's tolerated over there and people are not objecting to it, then we kind of look like, Nazis in and of ourselves, having these rules that other people aren't enforcing. It makes you look bad that you're now very clearly the censors. So I mean, that it kind of exposes the liberal lie that there wasn't that much censorship going on. That's what it does. Had to talk through that a little bit to pull it out of myself, but that's what's really happening with Twitter. Is it's exposing just how much censorship was happening that the liberals claim was not happening. And that's just by allowing free speech on the platform. The other shoe to drop is Elon now has all the evidence, the treasure trove of evidence, the correspondence between top leaders at Twitter and the federal government cooperating, meeting once a week to censor conservative people on Twitter. Politicians, political commentators, celebrities. There's now evidence of that. And so when you have such clear evidence of government and big tech collusion, I think everybody's going to need to start changing their behavior. And so what we're going to start seeing here is a couple of things. One, black people are going to band together and say, look, you're not going to crucify Chappelle. He didn't do anything wrong. We love him for good reason. You're not going to crucify Kanye. You're not going to crucify our athletes. We're not going to do this anymore. You have that happening while their free speech is protected, and we were finally giving them a platform to do so. So, the big point I'm making is a lot of the stage and the theater and all the smoke screens that they've been able to get away with for so long are now at risk. And this is a really interesting situation because they now have a lose-lose situation on their hands, they being the Jews. What's up, Amy Mew Mew? Glad to see you in here. First time chatter. Good time to join because this is a great representation of how my channel tends to go. I try to talk about fitness stuff, share my experiences and expertise there, and then I get off on these political tangents about the Jew mafia running the World Economic Forum, and all this other stuff. And so we're currently talking about the Jewish influence in America subverting what true Americans want. And for a long time, by long time, I mean 100+ years, they've been able to get away with it because the propaganda has been so strong. They've been very strategic with all these institutions and how they click together. But now you have things like the quartet that I just mentioned that includes both the entertainment industry and the big tech industry. They're losing control of big tech because of Twitter. They're losing control of the entertainment industry because of Kanye and Kyrie and Chappelle. The next thing is the news media. And you still have a lot of Hollywood stuff too, but the news media, think about this. I think I understand what's going to happen here. No, this is not a rerun, Amy. This is live. This is where I live. It's like Wednesday night, 5:20 p.m. Candace Owens, I think, holds the key to all of this. It says rerun? Oh man. Why does it say a rerun? I wonder how I can get that off. I'm new to Twitch, so I have no idea how to operate all this crap. I just get on here and start streaming. So maybe it's because the name is the same. Maybe I got to change the name. Hold on. Let's change this to 11/16/2022. RedPIll Fitness is live. Ask a fitness model anything about health and nutrition or conspiracy theories about the government. Bingo. Done. Maybe now that I change the title, it won't think this is like a duplicate episode and it won't say it's a rerun. I have no idea. Okay, but Candace Owens, if you guys don't know who that is, she's a journalist for the Daily Wire, who is the most successful online conservative news platform. And, you know, I've praised the Daily Wire on this show and recommended them to friends. And it is true that they have they have some good content. You know, the documentaries they produce, like the Black Lives Matter being the biggest lie ever sold, the What is a Woman, you know, coming out on the front lines of some of the easy low-hanging fruit of stopping liberalism's trajectory of undermining our country. But there's a problem, there's a conflict of interest when you look at who owns the Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro. Very outspoken and obvious Jew, whose immediate response, as soon as Kanye started this whole wave of bringing awareness to Jewish power, he was the first person to say Kanye is crazy, you know, he's bipolar, he's been on all these medications. I think, you know, he says things that he doesn't fully understand. He calls him an idiot. He does the entire Jewish response every time somebody says there's a problem with Jewish ownership in America. They call you crazy. They call you ignorant because you don't understand that saying these things can incite racial violence and potentially the next Holocaust. And so here it is. Here's the guilt trip that you don't understand how hurtful the words that you're using are. You don't understand how many people you're harming with your words. It is the liberal thing of when I call a man who's dressing as a woman still a man, you don't understand who you're hurting with your words. No, I'm just stating facts. If facts are hurtful, that's up to the individual who's hurt by those facts. So to make a factual statement, such as there's a disproportionate representation of Jewish ownership in all of the major institutions of America, if you're hurt by that, that's just a matter of your sensitivity to facts. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not anti-Semitism. And so, Ben Shapiro, as a practicing Jew, cannot acknowledge all of these things. He just can't. It would destroy his business model, and being a Jew, it would be coming out as not Jew, which he can't do because he is a Jew. So here's the really interesting part of this, though, because it's like, okay, Ben is a Jew, and that's why you can't talk about this stuff. You know, it is what it is. He's going to do his version of conservatism. But you need to understand, his version of conservatism is not America first. It's Israel, and then America if we have the spare resources. Which changes everything, by the way. If that's not like a small disclaimer on how they promote the world should be, knowing in the back of their mind that, as I said, it's not America first. Here's the thing I'm trying to get to. Candace Owens. Obviously black, very talented. She came to Kanye's aid and supported him. And now Ben Shapiro is put in the awkward place of, what do I do with this black person who is going to be asked to participate in this black versus Jew war? Seriously, this is what's going to happen. And it's honestly probably, the conversations are already being had. Ben Shapiro is already trying to strategize. I can't fire her, okay, for supporting Kanye, because then it's just going to look like cancel culturing my own employee because she stood with this argument that Jews have too much power. That would be a Jew using his power to fire somebody who said something he didn't like. So he knows he can't fire her. And there's going to come a time, if Candace Owens is true to her conservative beliefs, true to black people, she's going to have an existential crisis of, I can no longer work at the Daily Wire if I want to be honest about all these things. If I want to say I support Kanye, I support Chappelle, and not just that I support these individuals expressing their free speech, but when, this is where the rubber hits the road, when Candace is asked, do you think there's a problem with Jewish power in America? Candace Owens, you, black reporter working for the Daily Wire, do you think there's a problem with Jewish ownership? How is she going to respond? That's the question we're all waiting for. That's the key to all of this, because it's linked directly to Daily Wire's influence on the conservative narrative in America. Is the conservative narrative, say this 3 times fast, is the conservative narrative in America focused on Christian values, or is it being steered by Jewish values? That's the problem. And you guys want to sit there and like talk about, I listen to him for abortion stuff, and I listen to him for immigration stuff, and I listen to him for conservative fiscal policy stuff. Okay, so you're just listening to him for the GOP agenda, just the traditional Republican agenda. But you're not understanding that his big picture vision for America is not a Christian nation. And when you have alternative options to ingest your conservative political commentary and your political news that you want to absorb every week, and you're trying to choose which source can I trust to preserve Christian values in America? Can I trust the Daily Wire and all of their reporting? Or can I trust somebody else? Can I come listen to Josh at Beholden to Truth, or go listen to Nick at America First, or vote for Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump is the America First agenda. This is the big picture, because this is what's going to happen over the next 2 years. You guys know, big news. Hopefully nobody was sleeping. I'm sure you couldn't have slept through it. Trump made his 2024 announcement that he's going to run for president. Nobody is shocked by this. We all knew this was coming. But what's going to happen over the next 2 years is this slap fest between Trump versus DeSantis. And a lot of people, a lot of Daily Wire watchers are going to get pulled from Trump to DeSantis. And the reason they're going to do this, the Daily Wire is going to tell you that Trump is toxic. You know, he's too divisive. We need somebody who's more strategic in the long term, like Ron DeSantis. Trump is nowhere near the same kind of candidate as DeSantis. This is not as simple as one's an older conservative Republican, the other one is the younger conservative Republican. It's probably time to give the younger guy a shot. He's also nicer when he talks, so he doesn't offend as many people. He's also got a really pretty smile and a pretty wife. You know, you're being sold a Ken doll over choosing the candidate who actually wants to bring America back to being great again. And a lot of people are going to fall for it. In the meantime, all you guys listening to me, all you guys listening to Nick, you got to stay loyal to the Trump train. Because people are going to call you every single name in the book over the next 2 years when they find out you still support Donald Trump. Seriously, you could vote for Ron DeSantis, yet you're choosing Donald Trump over that? They're going to come at you with the most condescension. They're going to paint you as the most ignorant, bigoted person in the world. That's what this channel is about, is pushing back to all of the moral blackmail. You can say whatever you want about me, condemn me all day long. I know what I stand for. I stand for Jesus Christ. He is the one way, the truth, and the life. And if you're voting for leaders who don't stand for Jesus Christ, you are going the wrong way. Not that complicated. Not that complicated. Let's take a sip. Oh, man. Never gets old, honestly. This is what throws the camera off. Somehow when I sit back and have a drink, the camera just goes crazy. Listen, I was at Best Buy earlier this week. Let me know what you guys think. Matt Walsh, to be honest, Daily Wire is a Jew hole. So, Harley, you need to watch last night's episode of America First because Nick was specifically breaking down Matt Walsh. I'll have to send you a video of it. I can't even get on board with Matt Walsh anymore. And like, it is the thing, like, look, the What is a Woman? That was an important deliverable of the Conservative Party. Glad somebody did that. But I mean, I don't want to sit here and plagiarize Nick's work and Nick's commentary on Matt Walsh, but step back and think about it. He promotes himself as this Catholic family guy. His rant was so fucking funny. He's like sitting there, Nick's rant about Matt Walsh. He's talking about Matt, and Matt sits there with his big beard, so masculine, and he's got his flannel on, and he's got the rustic surroundings, talks with the deep voice to promote how masculine he is, and talks about how he has to provide for his family. That's his role as a man. I'm a man. And then, to put it simply, he goes, "You work for a Jew. Providing for your family, that money comes from a Jew. You can't say anything that Jew doesn't like. So if you truly are a Catholic and you truly have devoted your life to Jesus Christ, but your paycheck is coming from the guy who said Jesus Christ is in hell right now and deserved to be nailed to a cross and was blasphemous, that's the person signing your paycheck. You know damn well, thanks to the success you've had as a journalist now, thanks to the Daily Wire, thanks for you sucking off the teat of Satan, you could move on. You could go do independent journalism under your Matt Walsh name, actually get back to being a true Catholic who serves Christ, who doesn't serve the dollar at the Daily Wire. You could do that. You could do that at any point in time. Just saying. Just saying. And look, a lot people miss this stuff because you got to go so many layers deep to see who's on whose lifeline, who's being paid by who. It matters. Not just in the government, but it matters at the individual news companies. The journalists that you love, you'll find out, are intentionally lying by omission. Have you heard Matt Walsh talk once come to the support of Kanye and free speech? You're not going to hear it because his boss says, "No, you goy, you can't talk about that." Pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny when you see how everybody has chosen a side. They've chosen the side that pays the best. And that's why very few journalists will speak out loud on any platform that they're on about this problem. Because if they do, they lose their job, they're publicly smeared, and in the extreme cases of Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, and the few people who have been shoved into the deepest corners of the internet, the only way they've been allowed to continue sharing their opinion, because they've been banned from every social media platform, blackballed from any major news networks. You ever see them on Fox News? Of course not. The only way for these people to still allowed to be able to participate in society and get their opinions out is by creating their own platform. Alex Jones has the InfoWars. Nick has America First. The number of us true Americans reporting out what the classical America wants is very small, because there is such a cost to it. It comes with public execution if you're not careful. So that's what's going on politically. Next up, let's jump into the fitness board. Let's answer some questions. I did promise I would do that. I hate to just use you guys as my own therapy session to get out everything that's bothering me. One of the things bothering me right now, by the way, while I continue to do that, is the lack of Tucker Carlson in my life. Man was on vacation the last 2 nights. So they had Tulsi Gabbard doing the show, who was not the same. Tulsi, I don't even want to spend 20 minutes talking about Tulsi Gabbard. And then the next night, I think, is, what is his name? Something Will Cain, I think, who actually, he's pretty good. It's not like he's going to sit there and talk about the Jewish stuff. But look, Tucker Carlson he's not talking about it either. But look, actually, let's remember that very first Kanye interview. Who set that up? Who broke the ice? After the DEFCON 3 tweet, who was the first person to give him a public podium to defend himself? Tucker Carlson. Now, since then, they haven't said a damn word about it, and they canceled the special they were doing with Kanye. But that actually could have been a prearranged agreement and damage control where they said, look, Kanye, we do want somebody to say something. I'm just speculating here, by the way. I have no evidence to support this. But just imagine there was a long game where Tucker Carlson knows what's going on with the Jewish subversion. 2% of the population controlling 50% or more of our major institutions. 2%, guys. Meanwhile, white people are like 60% of the country. Christians are 50% of the country. Why don't we run things? Why are we letting a 2% ethnic and religious minority run everything? Especially knowing that their religious perspective is in direct contradiction to the values that this country was created upon. This is what happens. I always say, let me go look at some fitness questions, and then within 1 to 2 minutes later, I'm ranting about the Jews again. But it's the existential problem that there are no problems that get to not be affected by it. So, it's tough. Yeah, Tulsi comes off very insincere. And I don't know if she can really repair looking like a flip-flopper, looking like an opportunist. She presents herself as a kind of independent right now, but yeah, she's not the future of the Republican Party. There are some people who have been duped into thinking that because she does kind of reach across the aisle. Oh, maybe that's there's a great misconception that the future of the Republican Party is becoming more cooperative with liberals so that we can get more liberal voters. They think we need more liberal voters. That's not the case. We need to red pill people so that they are no longer liberal and they vote for America First policies, America First candidates. Don't try to move away from MAGA. Don't try to move away from Trump. You need to be moving more in that direction. Okay. Let's get a refresh on the Fit board here and start answering some questions, because otherwise I'll just keep going and going. Let's see. Diet question. I eat about 2,800 to 2,900 calories a day. If you guys didn't know, kcal is short for kilocalories. Kilocalories a day, over 160 grams of protein. This is like almost exactly my diet. 20-year-old male, I consume nothing but pizza. Oh my God, me too. Burgers and cheese. Oh, and energy drinks and protein shakes and water, of course. How long do I have left before I get a heart attack? Well, he did not mention his weight or his activity level. So it's an impossible question to answer. But that is, if you're trying to just become educated about how all of this works, you can't just say, I eat this much food, this much protein, and this is how old I am. Am I at serious health risk? Because this is like if you go to a doctor, first things they're going to ask you are, well, what is your physical activity level? Like, do you get out and exercise? Do you get any kind of cardio? Do you do any kind of strength training? He didn't mention how much he weighs. So there's no idea to know if he's at risk for a heart attack because we have no idea what his activity level is, what his current body mass index is, if he's obese, So it's an unanswerable question, but if you wanted to know the variables that you would need to know to answer the question, that's what they are. Okay. What else we got? There's a lot of trolling on the board tonight. Now, granted, these are all the newest posts. Let's switch over to reply counts. That way we actually have some more popular questions rather than just shit posts with one or two replies. Okay. What exercise is better for growing my glutes? Squats or hip thrusts? Oh, great question. Oh, man. And that actually is really close. Hip thrusts are the best isolation movement for glutes. Squats are the best compound movement for glutes. And most serious lifters are going to tell you if you're trying to grow a muscle group, you need to include a compound lift as well as isolation lifts. You're not going to do only one or the other. So, for example, if you're trying to hit chest, you're not only going to do flies. You need to do some pressing, some actual compound movements that are bending two joints or more. I'm trying to think if you could maybe shift the ratio towards more one or the other if your glutes were lagging, because the point is you should be doing both. If your glutes are a priority, you should be doing squats and you should be doing hip thrusts. Don't try to do all of one thinking that it's better. You need to develop your legs proportionally anyways, and that's what squats will make sure you accomplish. Do your squats first for that matter. Do your squats heavy, do them first, and then you can do some solid hypertrophy with hip thrust as a glute isolation movement. Okay. What else? I'm 19 years old, started working out regularly about a year ago. However, I am not seeing much progress since then. I'm thinking about hopping on gear, maybe Tren. Here we go. All right, I knew this was coming. Or maybe just some test boosters. Are there any serious consequences for doing these at my age? Any tips appreciated? It's always the youngsters, man. The youngsters want to go straight to the juice. They want all of the results as fast as possible. They don't appreciate delayed gratification. Don't appreciate discipline. But I'm not here to rag on the guy. I'm here to give him some advice and give him honest answers, actual red-pilled answers. So he's been lifting for 1 year. We talk on this channel before about the natural max being a target for most lifters that is about 4 years, which is what is required to reach your natural max of muscle tissue, that you can put on your frame, your height. It takes about 4 years of consistent training and diet that's been on point the entire 4 years in order to reach your natural max. And this guy is trained for 1 year. So it is very, very premature to get on gear with only 1 year of experience under your belt. Not just because you have 3 more years of great gains to make without the need of any kind of additional hormonal supplementation, but also you don't yet have the experience to train optimally. And I know because you're 19, you think, yes, I do. All my form is perfect. I've watched 10,000 hours of YouTube videos of Jeff Cavalier at Athlean X. I am a PhD in exercise because I have 1 year of experience. Nothing I'm doing could be improved upon. And so now I am ready to get on steroids. I know that that's your mentality. I admire the confidence, but you don't have the relevant experience yet to actually make sure that you're getting the best out of every training session before complicating your life significantly with getting on hormones. Definitely not trend. I mean, that hopefully that's just a trend kind of, not a trend, a troll kind of thing to say, because even if you were to want to start using steroids at the very young age of 19, at the very inexperienced level of 1 year lifting, that would be going straight to only using testosterone at a low dose, like 200 milligrams. It's the equivalent of a TRT dose for people who are on TRT. That would be your introduction to introducing exogenous hormones into your body. And you don't yet know, because you haven't done it, how your body is going to react to that. It's going to react in a lot of different ways, not just physically, but also mentally. And that's why I say there are a lot of complications that get introduced into your life once you make that decision to manipulate artificially your hormone levels. And you are still trying to figure out just how to do your gym routine correctly and what the best routine is for you. I mean, I can tell you, if you've only lifted for 12 months, you haven't even tried enough routines to know what works best for you yet. Because to try out any given routine, you need to do it for like 4 to 6 months minimum, sometimes an entire year. You can't do push-pull legs for 4 weeks and then say, I don't think that worked. I should go do starting strength. And then after 4 weeks of that, go, I don't think that worked. I'm going to go do a bro split. And that's how young people think. That's how, not just young, but that's how inexperienced people think. They think that they can jump from routine to routine, having tested them for 4 weeks. And most of them don't even test it for 4 weeks. They do it for 2 weeks. They don't see that many changes in their body because there's no routine that can give you changes in 2 weeks. And this is what I mean. You don't have the maturity or the experience yet to introduce another variable that's going to complicate not just the physical training, but also the mental aspects of training. And that's the basic gear. That's just using testosterone. If you were talking about trying to use tren or add some kind of orals or any other additional steroids, you have no idea how difficult your life is going to be. So don't do it. That's my advice. That would be my advice. What else we got? How many years have you been lifting? What's the highest in this list that you could take down in a one-on-one? No weapons, just raw strength. Okay, let's look at the graphic here. Is this like animals? Oh boy. So I've been lifting for 8 years. All right, and let's see where 8 years of lifting gets me. I'm going to say to about C. And that's probably true for guys who have been lifting for 15 years or 20 years. Most people cannot take, definitely not a gorilla. You can't take a buffalo. I mean, horses are kind of, do horses even fight, honestly? Like, what humans get in a fight with a horse? You might get thrown off of a horse. But I'm actually pretty curious. Like, how do horses assault people? Do they, like, slap them with their head or something? They don't really have limbs to flail, and they don't have teeth to bite. I mean, this is why horses eat grass. Because they're not really that combative. Now, but the funny thing is right next to a fucking horse, they have, what is that, a hyena? Listen, hyenas are savage. I don't really put many people, no matter how much strength training and bodybuilding they've done, or MMA or whatever, a hyena will fuck you up. Same thing with the wolf right here. I can't tell if that's an elephant. I have bad eyesight. But you're definitely not fucking with a gorilla. It's over when you try to deal with a gorilla. Chimpanzee? Or I think that's an orangutan. I think they're pretty damn strong too. And then you have a chimp. You might be able to take a chimp if you actually have really good fighting skills. But then up there you got alligators, tigers, polar bears, black bears. You ain't messing with any of them. A rhino, a hippopotamus. Who fights a hippopotamus, man? If you find yourself in a fighting situation with a hippopotamus, you are fucked. And elephants are savage too, man. Those tusks, you can't deal with those tusks. There's no grappling tricks that you learned on the MMA floor that are going to help you deal with an elephant's tusks. All right. What do we have? Is the whole mercury in tuna thing overblown? Seems one of the best ways to get protein to me. Can I safely eat a couple cans every day, or will I get mercury poisoning? That's an easy one to answer. No, you will not get mercury poisoning from eating 2 cans of tuna a day. There you go. Okay. What else we got? Man, we got some lame stuff on Fit tonight. Unironically answer this. Hold on, we got to blow this picture up. How do I have 3 blocked arteries? I fasted, ate low carb, cut seed oils, did cardio, and weights at least 5 times a week. End result, my widowmaker was 95% blocked. Thank the Lord, I just happened to go to a cardiologist after my iWatch reported afibrillation. Unironically answered. So he's asking for it. What is the honest truth? Like, this is somebody who keeps himself in great health, allegedly. You know, you never get to see behind the scenes of how healthy people really are. Even the people who claim they're super healthy. This is coming from a guy who, you can see my physique. You can listen to me and the knowledge that I bestow upon all of you. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for a long time, but I still have unhealthy behaviors. Everybody does. Nobody is the Jesus Christ of dieting, okay? Even Athlean X, I promise you, is not as healthy as he promotes himself as on his YouTube page. I eat 1 piece of carrot cake per year. Anyway, unironically answer this. This is pretty straightforward. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to find something that this person did, examining his entire life, all of his behaviors and his lifestyle, and try to find something that you just feel compelled to throw a dart at as, yep, that's probably what did it. That's probably what did it. It's the shampoo that he's using. You know, people will find whatever it is that they believe. You see this happening a lot with the vaccine, unfortunately. We won't go into that in this broadcast, but once you have so much stuff in your system, it gets pretty complicated. And you can try to optimize your health, as this guy clearly does. Cut the seed oils, does the cardio, ate low carb. You don't need to do that, by the way. Carbs are fine. You just can't eat calorically excessively in carbs. He fasted. He hit the weights 5 times a week. And then look at that. Still, you have a heart defect. So listen, I mean, I was about to say this kind of laughing, but it's not funny. I was supposed to have another sister. I have a dead sister who was born. This is very insensitive to just say it this way, but I'm just saying the facts. I was supposed to have another sister. She was born. My mom carried her fully to term, and the kid died after like less than a couple months because she had a problem with one of her heart chambers, just a genetic defect. And do you think it was like people sitting there with clipboards going, was it the baby food with the seed oil? And was it the this? And like, sometimes genetic defects take 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years to manifest themselves. And so you can do everything you can control, you can put effort into optimizing those things, but if and when a biological genetic condition strikes you, it is what it is. Like I talked about this at the very beginning of this show, getting my alopecia treated. I didn't do anything wrong to have alopecia, and it actually can't be defined what the root cause is. Autoimmune diseases, they come and go. No one has ever been able to really nail down what it is. Could be as simple as something in my diet, could be something as complex as stress, whether that's physical stress because I'm a guy who trains 5 times a week, or it could be emotional stress and mental stress because I'm a guy who maintains a 40-hour career and hits the gym on top of that and walks my dog for an hour a day. I count every single calorie that I eat. I take a multivitamin and fish oil, and I get a gallon of water. It's not fair that I have alopecia, blah, blah, blah. It's just the way it is, guys. Like, look, I'm going hard on this guy, and he's honest. He's asking an earnest question, and you do need to question for the sake of, the institution of medicine. That's the point of it. You ask questions. Sometimes you can get down to identifying what it is, but there are certain things that we know it has to come down to faith on. This is why Christianity is so important, and having faith, because if you put all of your stock in, I've done the science, I've read every science paper, I've read every science textbook, and now I know exactly how I can expect my human body to behave and other people's human body to behave. Same thing with psychology. You can go to psychology school, get your master's, get your bachelor's, become a clinical behavioral psychologist, and still struggle with understanding people. You can do an infinite amount of research and spend all of your time and resources into education, only to find out that the education is only as good as what's happening in the modern day. And then the science changes, or the perceptions change around the psychological conditions. Nostalgia, for example, used to be a medical clinical diagnosis. Nowadays, nostalgia is just like a fleeting feeling we talk about as if it's no different than humor or laugh or something like that. But nostalgia actually used to be a medical disorder. Science has gone forward and established that there's a different definition of medical disorder now, and nostalgia, the description of that feeling, isn't actually a mental disorder anymore. So science, you can only put so much faith in it. And so that was the problem with where America has strayed the last couple years, is we went all in on the science and basically left anybody who said, actually, science, I'm a big skeptic of science. We didn't just leave them behind. We accused them of being murderers and terrible people, kicked them out of their families, fired them from their jobs, all because they understand the nature of science and that it's transient and that people think they know science up until the point they find out, my hypothesis was wrong, because that's how science works. You create a hypothesis that continually gets tested over time until the point that it's proven wrong. It's been a while since we had a COVID rant. Felt good. And that's how they invert the truth. They call you a science denier, completely skimming over the fact that science is not a permanent state of being, that it's always in flux. To deny it means you're still open-minded to other answers. It's a good thing. It's how science works. Okay, let's do one last question to wrap up the night. Find us something good here. Oh, okay, here's an easy one. Can someone answer this fucking question for definite for once? If I go on TRT, lower to medium, is it possible to stop and return to my former self before TRT? Well, I can tell you from the anecdotal experience that I've gained from other people, not my own anecdotal experience because I'm still on TRT, and I haven't tried to go off of it for a prolonged period of time because I haven't felt the need to do so. I may have to do so when I want to start a family, I'm going to have to, that's for sure. But otherwise, there has not been a need for me to do so. So I can't tell you from my own experience. This is me being transparent. That's the point of this channel, is to always give you the truth. I have heard from plenty of other bodybuilders, and not people who are strength training, but just men who chose to go on TRT, adult men whose testosterone level was low. They went on TRT. They needed to then start a family, or for whatever other reason, wanted to get off of testosterone. Most recover. The overwhelming majority recover. I mean, the general guidelines are the longer you stay on without cycling off, then potentially the longer it'll take for you to rebound. But the thing is, everybody then wants to know, okay, well, how long? How long can I stay on, and how long will it take to rebound? And those questions are not answerable. So accept that first and foremost. Like, there is nobody that's going to be able to tell you, if you stay on for 36 months, it's going to take 6 months for you to recover. It's not an algebra equation. It's down to every individual's genetics, and there are other variables that are going to affect that as well. So that's the red pill on getting on TRT, and when you come off, how long is it going to take to recover? Nobody can tell you exactly. The bro science says something along the lines of 3 to 6 months, assuming you were on it for a prolonged period of time. A prolonged period of time meaning multiple years. Is there a difference between 2 years versus 10 years? Yes, obviously. Use your brain just a little bit. And how it works is it's a spectrum of risk. So if you scale more towards being on it for 10 years or 20 years, then you should be doing so with the acceptance that every additional year you are increasing the amount of time that it's going to take for you to get back on. But nobody can tell you by how much. Nobody knows if it's a difference of adding a week per year or a month per year. You just got to accept some of the unknowns here. All right. That's a great place to wrap it up for tonight. A solid 90 minutes tonight that I really enjoyed. Thank you for listening to me, because I had a lot to say. It was a big episode. As I said, it's a celebratory moment. We are officially 30 days from leaving the Pacific Northwest, leaving all this Jewry, crime, debauchery, Sodom and Gomorrah behind, and returning to my people, my homeland. Looking forward to it. I'll keep you updated on that. Like I said, we're 30 days out. So this is where the logistics and all that stuff really start to ramp up. I've had the move planned for a couple months. It's kind of like that awkward phase of, your life is going to change in a very big way, but it's still so far out. There's nothing really to do in terms of preparation. Now that we're finally within 30 days, that's why I was doing the stuff this morning to get my car checked out. Make sure your tires are good and your oil is topped off and all that crap. Because you don't want to be doing that the week of the move. Because then if you find out your car is not good, then you got to actually try to get it fixed before the move, because you don't have somewhere to live after moving day. And so you create a lot of stress by not planning well ahead of time. What's the old saying? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. I don't want a stressful move. I don't want to be dealing with the emotions of leaving a significant chapter of my life behind. I've been here for 7 years. I thought when I came out here, I thought I was going to settle out here. I thought the West Coast was the place to be. I was naive and stupid. And as mentioned before, I wasn't even Christian at that point in time. So I was happy to be leaving Alabama with the intent of staying in the West for the rest of my life. I didn't know any better. I was stupid. I was not red pilled. Okay. But there's going to be some emotional disturbance for sure over these next 30 days, where I do have to wrap up this entire life that I had up here and let it go. I have great friends around here that I got to say goodbye to, so that's always difficult. But it must be. It must be for the future. Okay. Have a great night, you guys. I got a dog to walk. I got pizza to cook. I got Tucker Carlson to watch. It's going to be a great night.